if the data you are using has come from different sources or from even one particular source, but they haven't been very consistent about their data entry, then the chances are you'll want to manipulate the case of your data, either changing everything to upper or lower or into title case. Luckily, somebody at Microsoft thought of the same thing and provided you with text functions to manipulate the case of text cells. Taking the employees working file, we can have a look at these changing case functions. So if, for example, we wanted all of our surnames to be in uppercase, it's not an unusual request. I'm going to head this up upper surname, and we simply run the function equals upper, open brackets. It only requires one parameter, and that is the text string to change into uppercase. So let's take the surname, and we see it changes every character within that string to uppercase. Replication down the line, and hey presto, everybody is in uppercase. We can do the reverse. We can make all text lowercase. Let's do that again on the surname as well. So let's call this lower surname. And by the heading that I've given that column, it sort of gives it away what the function might be, which is equals lower, open brackets, of the surname, for return, and you can see we have Parker totally in lowercase. Replicate to the bottom, and everybody is then in lowercase. The last member of this family is the one to create title case. So if we insert a new column, now unfortunately all of our surnames are already in title case, but the upper surname is not in title case, so we could run our title case formula on the upper surname formula to see if it works out the title case. So let's call this title case surname, and deliberately I haven't used the name of the function in the heading to try and catch you out. Talk about being mean. The function is actually equals proper. So Excel effectively refers to title case as proper case, and we will run it on the uppercase value. There's very little point in running it on the title case value, and you can see we then get Parker as a title case. Replicate the formula. It sees the space, so therefore it puts into a capital the first letter of the next part of their surname. So anybody with a double-barreled name like De Silva would then have the correct case, in fact, the proper case, which is why it does it. So those are the three functions that are pretty useful for changing the case, for manipulating the case of text strings. So if we wanted to do a very similar thing that we did before, which was to create a new set of email addresses, because everybody's now going to be employed by McDonald's, I could take their first name, concatenate our full stop, concatenate their surname, concatenate the @McDonald's. I've dropped the town out of it this time, just for ease. So all text strings must be enclosed in opening and closing speech marks. Then I get Wendy Parker at mcdonalds.com. Now, traditionally, all email addresses are quoted in lowercase, but because we've picked up the two cells with a capital W and a capital P, they've been replicated in our email address. So if we take that whole set of maths there, the whole concatenation, and run a lower function around the whole lot, that will ensure that the whole email address is in lowercase, regardless of how the value actually comes into the cell. There we are, all lowercase, and I can then replicate that. And everybody's email address, regardless of how their first name and surname has been spelled, is now in first name lowercase, surname lowercase, and at mcdonalds.com lowercase. So you can see it in action there, a real reason for needing the ability to change the case of data that you already have.